This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Good morning, my Real News Media TV family. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning, and I'm wishing for everyone a wonderful and productive day. And in the news this morning for March 11, 2023, 1 dead and 3 injured in Golden Springs shooting. 4 persons have been shot, 1 fatally, in Golden Springs, St. Andrew. A soldier and his wife were among the injured. The 4 were among persons at an ice cream shop when gunmen attacked. The shop's owner is among the injured persons taken to hospital. The police are probing the incident. St. James rocked by 5 murders in 48 hours. 5 people were killed in the 48 hours between Tuesday morning and Thursday afternoon in gun and machete attacks in St. James. 4 of the 5 deceased men have been identified as 34-year-old Sheldon Duhaney, a businessman of Lot 587 in Westgate Hills, Montego Bay, 33-year-old Sean Crock Porter, a bartender of St. George's Street in Cornwall Courts, 22-year-old Derek Ellis, unemployed of Shantytown in Norwood, and a 37-year-old Jermaine Pinchers Hood, unemployed of Pelly Drive in Flankers. The unidentified male is believed to be a man of unsound mind who frequents the streets in and around Montego Bay. In the first of the 5 incidents, which occurred on Tuesday, an unidentified man was found with what appeared to be multiple chop wounds along the roadway on Jimmy Cliff Boulevard, popularly known as the Hip Strip. On Wednesday, Porter was shot and killed by a lone gunman about 9 a.m. He was reportedly at his Cornwall Courts home with his common-law wife when he was attacked by a gunman who shot him several times. Later in the day, Ellis, who was sitting on his veranda at his home in Shantytown, Norwood, was shot and killed by unknown assailants. While the police were processing the Norwood murder scene, they received the reports of a shooting in Flankers. Upon investigation, Hood's body was found with gunshot wounds. He was reportedly standing on Pelly Drive talking on his cellular phone when a car pulled up alongside him and its occupants opened fire, killing him on the spot. In the 5th incident, which occurred on Thursday about 1 a.m., Duhaney and his girlfriend were alighting from his vehicle outside his house when a lone gunman attacked, shooting him multiple times. He was pronounced dead at Cornwall Regional Hospital. The spate of killings brings the parish's count for the year to 33, which is 13 fewer than the 46 recorded for the corresponding period last year. The breakdown for this year shows 3 double murders and 27 single murders. Last week, Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of Area 1, Clifford Chambers, expressed a concern about the recent uptick in murders in St. James after a relatively peaceful start to the year in comparison to recent years. Police undaunted amid death threats from criminals. Members of the security forces in Western Kingston have been put on high alert as criminals have reportedly vowed to avenge the death of 34-year-old Karen Kodula Angus, who was fatally shot during a confrontation with a police party on Thursday. Sources say criminals linked to Angus, who was wanted for 2 double murders, have been issuing threats since late Thursday evening as news spread of his demise. "We are not worried or afraid of the threats of those criminals, but we have said to our members to be alert, and as the security minister has repeatedly underscored, it is a standard use of force policy anywhere on the globe. If police come under deadly attack, we are entitled to respond," a senior cop based in the gritty West Kingston division told the news. "We will not relent in our fight to rid the streets of West Kingston of these criminals, and we would suggest to Kodula's cronies that if they are confronted by the police, they surrender rather than firing at us, leading to further loss of lives," added the cop. On Thursday, the police reported that members of a team conducting joint operations with the Jamaica Defense Force in the Studley Park Road area of West Kingston, armed with a search warrant, entered premises where it was believed that Angus had been hiding. A member of the security team knocked on a door of a house and the cops heard shuffling coming from inside. The cops reportedly shouted police, after which a member of the team started to open the door. As soon as he did so, Angus opened the gunfire at the police. The cops returned the fire, hitting him in the upper body, after which he fell on the floor and a firearm fell beside him. The firearm was found to be a black Canik TP9 pistol with 1 live round. He was taken to the Kingston Public Hospital, where he was pronounced dead, the police source added. Angus had been on the police most wanted list since January 2021, when he was identified as the shooter in an incident which left 24-year-old Janelle Thomas and the 35-year-old Omar Jarrett dead on Penn Street in Kingston 12. Before that, Angus had been linked to the September 21, 2020 fatal shooting of Michael Francis and Kenroy Gordon on Nassau Road in the vicinity of Angola Park, Kingston 12. 2 other men were shot in that incident. Angus, who was also linked to at least 5 other shooting incidents, avoided capture when he engaged the members of a police team in a shootout last year. He was a regular feature on the Constabulary Force's Wanted Wednesdays, which is published on social media. 62-year-old farmer killed in St. James home invasion. A 62-year-old man was shot and killed during an attack at his home in St. James Friday afternoon. The deceased has been identified as Michael Roy Bennett, a farmer from Shantytown in Norwood in the parish. Bennett's common-law wife, who was also at home, narrowly escaped the injuries, the police said. It was reported that around 1:25 p.m., the couple were at home when the front door of their house was kicked in by men with firearms who opened fire at them. When the shooting ended, Bennett was seen suffering from gunshot wounds. The police were called to the scene, and on their arrival, they saw Bennett lying on his back motionless in a pool of blood with multiple gunshot wounds to his head and upper body. The body of the deceased man was transported to the Cornwall Regional Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Police said they discovered almost 20 spent shells while processing the murder scene. No motive has been established for the attack. JCF losing about 400 members each year. Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson says the Police High Command has been forced to intensify its recruitment program as the force is losing an average of 400 members each year. Speaking at a town hall in Mandeville Park, Manchester on Thursday evening, General Anderson declared that the High Command has been enjoying success in its recruitment drive to hedge against those who leave.
What we recruited and trained last year was 1,250, and similarly this year. So we've gone from 400 to 1,200 officers. What that means, because there's actually a relatable component of that. It means that when you're recruiting 400 and you're losing roughly 400, nothing changes. So I expect to lose about 400 officers a year. To retirement, resignation, to migrate, that's a big one. They migrate, a lot of our officers migrate, and a few for other reasons. So that's the expectation. What that means is, and it's not unreasonable in the size of the organization that number leaves.
Mandatory minimum sentences could reverse reduction in case backlog, says Sykes. Chief Justice Brian Sykes says the move by the government to increase the mandatory minimum sentences may reverse gains made by the judiciary to reduce the backlog of cases. Justice Minister Delroy Chugg has brought 2 bills to Parliament to increase the mandatory minimum sentence for murder. Under the proposed amendment, people who plead guilty to murder will have to serve a minimum of 30 years before becoming eligible for parole. Additionally, the Firearm Licensing Act 2022 includes a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years for anyone who has been found guilty of having an illegal firearm. Some defense attorneys and the parliamentary opposition have argued that the mandatory minimum sentence will not serve as a deterrent to criminals. Speaking at a forum with members of the media Friday morning, the Chief Justice said criminal elements are more likely to take their chances with the judicial system as opposed to entering a guilty plea, since there is a mandatory minimum sentence. Justice Sykes said the reversal of gains in terms of the clearance rate for cases will be felt especially in rural circuits.
We anticipate that the gains that we have made in terms of clearance rate and so on, I expect to see reverses in that, especially with the rural circuits. When we spoke about the rural circuits, they sit 9 weeks for the year or 12 weeks for the year. So what are the things that can happen in the meantime? Witnesses, unfortunately, may pass on. Witnesses may migrate. The exhibit may be, all of those things that count in my favor, you know, if I'm a 21-year-old. So it suits me to go to trial, because the longer it takes, the chances of things going wrong increase as well.
Court statistician Dr. Denarto Dennis said while no system will ever be completely backlog-free, it is important to continuously work towards that ideal. Dr. Dennis said the court with a backlog-free designation has only a handful of outstanding cases in the system for more than 2 years.
Technically backlog-free based on the very limited number of cases that are over 2 years old. One of our greatest examples is the Hanover Parish Court. They have literally under 10 cases that are in backlog, criminal cases. The St. Mary Parish Court is also one such court that has made quantum strides and also has only a handful of criminal cases in backlog. The Gun Court, which I think is a shining example of what deep and persistent structural reforms and leadership can produce. The High Court Division of the Gun Court, which was once heavily backlogged entity, once with very modest clearance rates, now enjoys consistently one of the highest clearance rates, talking consistently over 100%.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.